So I'm Nicole Botherway. I'm the Manager for Maritime Services for Waikato Regional Council, and inside the Maritime Services team is Navigation Safety and the function of the Harbour Masters, and it was inside this team that MarieMate was created.
And I'm Andrea McDonald, so currently I'm DCE for our location system at LINZ, but at the time as Manager Hydrography, which is inside LINZ, is the New Zealand Hydrographic Authority.
So there are many different competing sports and activities taking place on the water, and as more and more people use the water for their recreation, there become conflicts, and those conflicts are generally powered versus non-powered, bigger ships, smaller ships. I suppose just sort of to go back a little bit, MarieMate, it wasn't created in a boardroom, it wasn't sort of discovered in a World Cafe or as a result of a consultant's recommendation. MarieMate was a throwaway comment that you have during one of those conversations when you're trying to change the world over a few beers. It came about as a result of one colleague saying to another council, you know, I'm sick and tired of your jet skiers coming into my patch and playing up. Good manners means I won't repeat his exact comment, but it was something along the lines of, can you please make sure your jet skiers are registered when they come to the Waikato? And this was met with lots of, yeah, we'll get that on the next bylaw review. And I happened to be just playing with my phone, just answering emails, etc., and just said, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool if you had some sort of app that showed you the differences? And everyone laughed at me. But that sort of was the start of it, and quite pivotal to how everything with MarieMate got going. So that problem that we have, so New Zealand is broken into 17 different regions. Each region has its own bylaw and some don't, and the ones that don't, their national rules apply. So each bylaw is approximately this big. Yeah, it keeps going, it keeps going. You know, so I think sometimes we judge our policy documents on word count rather than policy or intent sometimes. But when we do that, we can make it really, really hard for the weekend boatie kayaker to understand it, let alone comply with it, and for ourselves as regulators to enforce it. So MarieMate takes this and puts it in the palm of your hand. So how cool would it be to have 17 of these in an app? No, not so much. So the dilemma was, how do we make this attractive to the public? You know, normal people. And also, why would we even bother? So sadly, around about 20 people die every year in New Zealand waters, and these usually hit the media, and sometimes as a result we get a little bit of reform. However, if you drop down a stage under the fatalities, there are a lot more people that are hurt and injured and hospitalised. These don't often hit the media because it's not sensational enough. Sorry if you've just had afternoon tea. So ACC records approximately 16,000 boating-related incidents every year, and it's around about $33 million to the taxpayers. And this made ACC a real natural partner when it came to unearthing everyone in that water space. So MarieMate's a story of collaboration across central and local government, a total of 17 different agencies and 5 central government agencies. So not only did those agencies let all of their information be put into MarieMate, they also funded their part in the developer's time in getting that information into MarieMate itself. Collaboration and speed is certainly the key to the success of MarieMate. We decided that the following summer was going to be our launch date, and we'll try and get that done around about Labour weekend last year. MarieMate is, I guess it's got the power to change the way that we interact with ratepayers, with taxpayers. I mean, these bylaws, they're about what you can't do, and MarieMate sort of turns that around and it empowers people to do what they like doing, but in the safest place. With that collaboration, the first approach that I made was to the Ministry of Primary Industries. They had the NZ Fishing Rules app. Some of you may already have that. That had been going for approximately 18 months, and I was really keen to learn from them. They introduced me to their developer, Mojio, and Mojio became our developer. Adam Hutchinson, who is the CE for Mojio, he has got a really, really great team, and as more and more resources were needed, he's basically geared up for that. So he worked with us really closely to make sure that we had a really great product, and he also understood what it's like for working for a government department. We're not trying to make the next Candy Crush. We're not trying to make billions of dollars and get our name up there. This is about safety and about people's lives. So I think everyone sort of agreed that it was a reasonably good idea at that point, but no one was ready to part with any money, as you do. So I took a calculated risk and I built a prototype, and I took this around to Maritime New Zealand and on a roadshow to different councils. To gain traction, it was important to link with like-minded organisations, an organisation that held information that we were keen to put onto the app, someone who was open-minded and also open to new ideas, and this is where LINZ came in.
So the MarieMate concept, it worked really well at so many different levels with LINZ. So at the highest level, we have a new 10-year vision which says the power of where drives New Zealand's success. And so what we mean by that is that anyone should be able to take their own information and data and in a seamless, interoperable way, enable it with a location and be able to layer it on a map and look at it spatially. And the reason why you would want to do that is to be able to provoke better decision making and to inspire innovation. Now, MarieMate does exactly that. It's an app that has gone out and used information in a different way and is enabling its users to make better decisions on the water. As I mentioned before, within LINZ sits the New Zealand Hydrographic Authority. Now, we have obligations under the UN for the Safety of Life at Sea Convention to support professional mariners. So we undertake hydrographic surveys in New Zealand, and we produce and maintain New Zealand's portfolio of official navigational charts, and we promulgate urgent navigational warnings. So our focus is really on producing products for quite a small subset of users. However, those products do definitely benefit the larger community and all other water users, but we're just not tailoring them specifically for them. So as technology is moving on and users are wanting more and more to be able to access things from their phones or their apps or while they're out and about, although our products were moving from paper into a digital age for the professional mariner and the harbour masters, they weren't moving into a state where you could access them on your phones or through, mobile technology. So there was an opportunity when Nicole came to talk to us that we just needed to take advantage of. We weren't thinking of doing anything new or different for broader water users, but it was too good an opportunity to turn down. So one of the products that we produce for our professional mariners is a publication called Notice to Mariners. It goes out on a fortnightly basis, and you'll get a copy of this if you subscribe to the email, which will take you back through a link into our website where you'll get to download a massive, big PDF full of all the information for all the safety critical things that have changed in the last fortnight for all of our chart portfolio. Now, not many people have our whole chart portfolio, and certainly, definitely, like your general everyday water user doesn't want to know about everything that's changing in all the charts around New Zealand. They want to know about what's going on right here where they want to use the water. So we saw an opportunity to change the process of how we get our Notice to Mariner information out to our customers. And we didn't negate the way that we currently do it now, but we saw an opportunity to trial and test a different way of doing things through MarieMate. So we worked with developers to set up a web interface for us to take all our notice to mariner information that we're producing every week anyway and push it out through MarieMate. Now this actually is a duplication of effort, but in the short term, I think it's absolutely worthwhile to have someone doing that twice in order to get the benefits for our customers straight away. Because reality was, if we wanted to automate the whole thing and hook it into our production database, that was going to be a massive big piece of work. And yes, we could see benefit in doing that, but we wouldn't have been able to do it in the time frames that Nicole was talking about. And as a result of doing that, we've got feedback that it's not just the broader range of users that are really appreciating being able to get their notice to mariners in different ways. There are pilots, for example, who just love to be able to get their updates for notice to mariners off their phone, or harbour masters that are sometimes working in different areas, and so when they go to that area, they know on a location-based way that they'll have the information they need for the charts that they need to work off. Here's an example of some of the notices that come through on the app. So it wasn't just the notice to mariners as well. Tide information, we were also quite restricted in terms of how we could get our tide information out for broader customers. Now, the tide information for primary ports is available on our website, and in fact it is the number one site or page that people go to on our website by far. But we're really restricted on our website to be able to search for, the tide information spatially. And so when it comes to secondary ports, if we put all that information up there in the detail that we do for primary ports, nobody would ever find anything. But MarieMate, by pushing information out there in a spatial way, our systems could easily generate the detailed information that we needed for the secondary ports. And so it was an easy way to get that out there as well. And we went a step further to actually say, well, if we're going to go out there for broader users, we need to make the adjustments for our tide predictions for daylight savings. Something that we hadn't done in the past because it involved changing our systems. But reality was, when we looked into changing those systems, it was so simple, I wondered why we hadn't done it sooner. And equally, we're getting, as much feedback on how valuable it is getting our tide information out there and more of it for different ports, just making it easier for people to access our products and services. So if there's one lesson that I've learnt from this that I would encourage you to take on board is make sure you take those opportunities when they present themselves to you. Because by focusing on sort of that short, sharp trial and test cycle, not only are we getting products and information out to our customers faster with better benefits for them, but we're also building the case for making the changes to the larger enterprise systems like our production database and our website as well. And that's just invaluable.
Thanks. So what does MarieMate look like? If you've managed to download it, or if you've done so during part of the session, you'll see that there is a main sort of landing screen on the menu that has got New Zealand advertising, because they're one of our biggest contributors and backers of MarieMate. The region there, that's sort of broken up into all the different bylaw regions. If you've enabled your MarieMate to be able to use your location stuff, then it will automatically bring up the region that you're in. And if you happen to be going from Waikato through to Tauranga or Nelson to Wellington, it will automatically go through that imaginary sort of line in the sand between councils, and it'll pick up that you're going to another location, and it'll show you the local dangers and also some of the things that you need to know about. Dropping down one stage further, this shows Nelson. So before, these were actually represented as GPS reference points in a bylaw, which very, very hard to read. What MarieMate does is actually you can view this graphically. Each one of those colours you can actually press on, and it'll show you what that zone is. So whether it be a mooring zone, a speed restricted area, somewhere safe for you to go and take the kids to swim without having powered vessels into that area. And you'll see the little boat ramp there. When you press on that, it'll give you information for what it is about that boat ramp that you might need to know. Do you need to take money so that you can use it? Some boat ramps you can only go at certain sides of high tide. So it means that you're a little bit more prepared before you get there. We haven't got coffee shops on it yet, but that's... So at this point, I thought that I had a pretty great product, but it was empty. And the timetable that we sort of set for ourselves of the coming Labour weekend was starting to get closer and closer. And I went to a roadshow, and fair to say I met with quite a few challenges on that roadshow. And the number one challenge for any project is we're broke. And let's face it, none of us have got any time. What's a KML file? That was a pretty good one. Oh, our staff don't have smartphones, so why on earth would we be involved? And my personal favourite, these appy things won't take off. It was Taranaki. Is anyone here from Taranaki? Honest, it was from Taranaki, it wasn't. So as I went to all of these councils, what I did on that prototype is I put at least one little thing of their bylaw into the prototype. So as I went to Nelson or Canterbury or Southland, I made sure that they had one little thing that was theirs. So as I presented to them, they could already see themselves as part of it. I guess it's like when you're younger, when you're a kid and a new phone book gets there, you go through it trying to find your name. So it was trying to sort of hook them in and sort of get them to buy in and come along on that journey with us. We had some really, really great early adopters. I mean, some of the councils out there have got some amazing data. And also somewhat protective too. It's like this big gatekeeper for all the information. As we sort of dropped down to some of the smaller councils with a very low ratepayer base, quality of information was a real struggle. Lack of funds was a really big struggle. So this is where ACC and Water Safety New Zealand came in. And I guess this was the tipping point. One of their biggest things is that they want to get information out to the masses. And it was through this commitment that they actually agreed to fund all of the smaller councils. So your little guys like Gisborne, Marlborough, that sort of thing. So it was there that, I guess that's where MarieMate became a nationwide app rather than just the big players. And I think that's quite important because quite often we think, oh, we've got 85% of the country, on board, we'll wait for these other guys or not bother. But I think that was a part of the MarieMate philosophy that we wanted everyone involved. And having that funds meant that the developer could actually work on the quality. One of the councils said, yeah, we've got everything, isn't it great? And they gave us a brochure. So it wasn't actually data as we know it. It was basically something that was made in a comms department. And some of it was just drawn. They didn't actually have GPS references for it. So they had to send their harbour masters out to actually go and get that for the first time. So it made them think a little bit more about their data and the future of what they were going to do. The next 4 months was basically about getting the authoritative data. So it had to be correct, and it probably doesn't shock you that a lot of it wasn't. And it had to be cost effective. As we got more and more people involved, people brought along ideas. And so I had to make a rule pretty early on was if you wanted big change, then you had to pay for it. So the ideas dried up. So we managed to launch at the Water Safety Conference for Water Safety New Zealand last year in October, a couple of weeks early on iPhone, and then launched on Android a couple of months after that. And I've got a promotional video which is on YouTube to help enable users to actually get the most out of MarieMate.
To make boating and safety information easier to access while on the water, a free smartphone app has been developed. MarieMate is a free iPhone and Android app that will help you find boat ramp locations, get tide times, and lots of other important information. Using MarieMate is simple. By tapping on the My Location button on the bottom tab bar, it uses GPS to determine your current location. The map view will show your location and any nearby zones, such as speed limits, mooring zones, towing areas, and much more. This will also show you nearby boat ramps, which you can also search for by name using the search button. By tapping on Area Notices, it will load up all messages for your current location that you need to be aware of. Tapping on the main menu gives you a list of 8 options, with each button focusing on a specific area of boating and safety information. Essential boating information will show you the nationwide rules for operating a boat in New Zealand. Regional boating information shows what rules are unique to each region. The Safety Equipment checklist shows what safety equipment you need to take out with you. The Tide button brings up a list of areas in New Zealand where you can check for tide information. All this at your fingertips. MarieMate, your free guide to marine rules and regulations for New Zealand waters. Search MarieMate on the app stores.
So to measure success, because we'd never really built an app or been involved in this space before, I didn't even have any idea whether 1, 2, 5, 10,000 was the amount that we should choose for summer. We decided to go approximately with the NZ Fishing Rules app downloads for their first summer, and that was 5,000. During our first launch, we were lucky enough to be featured on TV1 News, and that gave us a huge boost in numbers. And in March, we were lucky enough to get an endorsement from the Minister, and we reached 14,000, only been going for 4 months. And yesterday, we're at just over 17,000, so we're pretty happy for our first summer. I mean, that's the only way to really judge success or not. I mean, you actually do make yourself sort of quite vulnerable when you put your work out there to the public. It's okay to sort of make a couple of mistakes if it's internal, but this is on show for everyone to see. And people don't hold back when they can, I guess, make suggestions on social media. And we also have an email address where people can write in directly to us and actually tell us. So that's at mariemate@waikatoregion.gov. And so people can make suggestions, they can say if something's wrong, they can basically do whatever they want, and they can hide behind the persona. We're quite lucky that we got lots of different positive feedback in that first little while, and some things that actually we were able to correct really quickly and made it better for all the rest of the users. It also really tested that public appetite, whether or not people were even ready for a boating rules app. I think if we'd called it the New Zealand Regulations and Boating Rules app for New Zealand, I don't think it was quite as snappy as that sort of MarieMate. So your name is actually quite important too. This is our part of our evolution. I mean, we want to keep on refreshing MarieMate and keep it bright and inviting. That's sort of the way to make sure that people stay keen on your product, even though it's free. This winter for us is basically about taking all the different suggestions that people make and updating it. This is actually a sneak peek of our project that we're doing over the winter and getting ready to launch over the next coming months. So this is sort of up for the new operating systems coming through, and it's sort of, I guess, similar to sort of Facebook and how that's going. We've been able to swipe backwards and forwards rather than click on your screens. So it is important to evolve, but it's also really important to stick to your core goals. And we've got 3 of them in MarieMate. And the number one is that MarieMate in New Zealand will always be free. So that there is no upgradable version, there is no sort of add-ons. Everything that we can possibly think of, we will put into MarieMate and make it available to the masses. The second one is that there's no advertising in it. We've recently been offered or approached by a company wanting to give us a lot of money to put advertising in it, and it was really, really hard to turn it down. I mean, basically would have paid for everything that we wanted to do for the next couple of years. But I think the core goal of MarieMate and its core value is that it's about reducing harm and keeping people safe. It's not about selling boats or fishing rods. And the third one was to enjoy it. I think if you enjoy your product and you enjoy making it and learning new things, then that'll show through in your product, and it'll also capture people when they actually go through and use it. We were lucky enough to get a free stand at the Hutchwilco Boat Show just recently in Auckland. We set up a shack based on a 60s sort of ice cream parlour on the edge of a wharf, and got kids and their parents to sort of come along. And they've made up the MarieMate boats. I've got a couple of hundred of these, and people can grab them during their break later on or during a drink. For the kids, of course. They're fully waterproof, so they do float for a couple of days. They won't take on water, so a lot of fun. Play with them how you will. So what does the future hold for MarieMate? In the next couple of weeks, the VHF channels will be loaded onto MarieMate. The VHF channels are a little bit like the bylaws. As you go from region to region, they do change quite a bit, and a lot of VHF channels are actually plugged into your hardware, so you've actually got to go through and manually change that. So this will mean that you won't sort of end up with static, or you won't call the wrong station by mistake. The cable protection zones, so telecom and transport power are coming on board. The only reason that we're letting a non-government agency, so to speak, on board is because these cables are under the Cable Protection Act, and also if a weekend boatie manages to snag one, it can have quite big consequences. Not just the sort of 10,000 volts up their anchor. Let's say anchor, I didn't say anything else to it. It's also, you know, a lot of downtime, a lot of interruption for telecom and all of the people that use them as a provider. The New Zealand police screens, this would signal like the next, I guess, big central government department that will be on board with us. And this is because as of November last year, all police officers have the ability to enforce all bylaws and all of the Maritime Transport Act. So there was an amendment made in November, so it means that police officers can be out on the water now doing the stuff that traditionally only harbour masters did. I guess to round off this session is to sort of encourage you to talk about those problems. I mean, I don't know if it's because we were too polite that we didn't want to say to another region that, look, what you're doing with your bylaw is making it really hard on us, or vice versa. So we never really put it on the table and talked about it. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And if you look at your biggest risks, then you can usually come up with ways to fix that. And once you've got that and you've backed it up with fact, then you're free to make those really simple, fast and bold decisions. And that's when it's up to your team to go and link with like-minded organisations. I'd say back your product, back yourself. I mean, you know your industry, you know what you're doing, and it's usually people inside your team that are the ones that will be able to solve those problems. And if you give another organisation a reason to be part of your project, whether it be an app or something else, then they're more likely to come on that journey with you. Have a plan and I guess be determined and almost dogged about the reasons that you're doing it. Reducing harm and safety, you know, saving lives and that sort of thing is you know, very compelling and also quite hard to argue against. But saving money and time is also a really good thing as well. So take note of those throwaway comments. I mean, those big shifts can come from where you least expect them. So, want to be mates? Glossies of people help as well. We have treats for you.
Oh, no worries. I thought I'm loud enough. I saw the fishing rules as well in the upgraded version screen, right? There is an app for that. Should I delete that because it's integrated?
No, it's not integrated. It's a link from our app to theirs. It's part of our collaboration.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we've got a link to the NZ Fishing Rules app, and they've got a link to ours.
Oh, so I should keep the app?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Hi, my question is, it sounded great that, you made the decision really quickly to how can we develop this, get this out to the customer. Yes, we might have to do some double handling. Yes, we're not making the decision to go all out and build another big thing that might take too long. I guess, how did you sell that so that your management said, hey, we're fine with you doing that, we're fine with a bit of double handling while we prove the concept?
So there's probably two parts to that. From the council side of it, it isn't double handling. For us, this is about the first time that we've ever released it like that in any sort of format that wasn't, paper-based. For LINZ, it was probably a little bit different. I mean, we certainly wanted their information on it because it was something that would draw people to it. People don't tend to want the bylaw. It's not cool to sort of stand there on the boat ramps looking through it. But when you can sort of check something on your app, then it's all right, fellas, I've got this, and they can sort of do that. But Andrea could probably answer it from the point of view of the notices to mariners.
Yeah, it's we'd already been working on another app with our IT partner Datacom, which was around getting information in, like crowdsourcing the changes going on in the environment. And this was like a really nice sort of, pushing the information the other way. So there were some synergies to what we were doing already. But it was complete within terms of like the resources that we need to double up work and that kind of thing. It was completely within the realms of my team's control to make that call. So it just made it really easy to say this is a great idea worth trying. Let's do it.
Look, I was just wondering about, obviously you've got the app. Have you mirrored it on a website? Like, is it available non-smartphone, or is it purely, and if you did make that decision to only go smartphone and not go web, why?
Yeah. So the app is about lots of different organisations being able to be in one product. All of the councils and all the central agencies have all got their own websites. We've said that they can have the information if they want to, but this is about boaties being out on the water and accessing the information there, rather than, but they might go to a new place and not realise it. This actually follows them around, whereas their PC's back at home.
Yeah. There's probably lots of places that you can't actually, your smartphone won't work for you.
Yeah, sure.
So that was kind of why.
Yeah. So I didn't actually mention during this that MarieMate is a static app or a dumb app. So all the information is actually inside your phone, so you've actually got it. If you happen to be out of range, it just means that you won't get any new stuff coming in, but you can use it. It's all there, all the boat ramps, everything else downloads when you actually download the app. And no, it doesn't suckle your battery and all that unless you've got a cheap Android. Good Androids are good, cheap ones not so.
Hi, I'm Steve Hodgkinson. So what sort of platform are you using to develop the apps? So one of the issues with these apps is every time they change iOS or Android or whatever, you've got to go back and re-engineer stuff. So is it based on a platform which takes all that forward, or how's all that?
So it's all done on top of Google Maps and Apple Maps. All those sort of developer type questions I'd have to sort of push through to Mojo. I just managed the project and brought them in to do that.
Hi. So you mentioned how for those local bylaws you got the data from the actual councils themselves.
Yep.
For the essential rules, the national data, could you explain where you where you found that data, the source.
Yeah, so the national rules are in the Maritime Transport Act, and that came from Maritime New Zealand. Where national rules apply is in, like when I had the map where it was broken into 17 regions, not all councils have taken responsibility for navigation safety in that area, and therefore national rules apply. I mean, it's complicated even talking about it, let alone if you're a weekend boater and you want to do the right thing. You know, we sort of put up all these barriers for people to actually give them the information that they want. The national rules are pretty simple. It's Part 91 and Part 22, what side of the water you should be on, keep right, not keep left, that sort of thing, that simple stuff which all boaters should know, but unfortunately they don't.
So just a follow-on question. So how in-depth would that go with the various maritime laws?
So we haven't gone right down. This is for the recreational area. If you are a mariner as such and you've gone through all the courses, then you'll know that a lot more in-depth. You would have gone to a Coast Guard boating education course or some type of maritime school. That's what you should rely on, that knowledge. This is about for the people who won't bother going to do any of that. At least if they have a look at this, they'll get something.
Hi, I'm Joanne Franks, and I downloaded it this morning, and I was just interested to know how often the area notices are updated and things like that. How often it's refreshed and that kind of
Did
thing.
you see the one for Govis on there? Yeah,
No.
if you go and have a look at your area notices, if you haven't down there, we did a hello message to everyone here at Govis.
So was that this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it must have been just after I did it on the train.
For one day only.
But just a fairly simple question, but as success grows with something like this, it started off as as a Waikato region thing, and as the success grows and you get more and more partners on it, is there a point where that it gets so big that Waikato says, look, this isn't my core business anymore?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that there was a panel of all different people from different regions that are on board assessing all the different ideas. Even though I'm from Waikato Regional Council, this isn't a Waikato project as such. It's funded by all different agencies, and so if I happen to leave or do something else, there'll be other people that are involved that could do that. I mean, that's why we're sort of not plastered all over it, because it's not a Waikato thing. This is about a nationwide thing. It's a New Zealand thing.
I really like when you have to log on to it and it actually asks you about your boat and what safety features you've got on board. So I requested the phone user. Ticked everything, so I hopefully they've got it.
Throw our stats on.
When am I going to get it for my Windows phone?
Would you like to pay for it? So basically, we went with the biggest areas first. At the moment, I mean, Windows is only about 4 or 5% of the market. Oh, okay. If it is, then I mean, but basically, as we can afford more things, we'll do it. I mean, we could have gone and done all those things if we'd taken the offer from Fishing, Camping and Outdoors, but I think if we have to fund it ourselves, then we're a lot more clever about what we're putting on it. We have to really, really want it if we've actually got to put into it ourselves. So all of the players, all of the councils and all of the central government agencies, they'll basically sort of put in money as their budget allows. And there's various different Water Safety New Zealand and ACC sort of funding that will help do that. I mean, $33 million a year in accidents, I mean, putting in, you know, like 15, 20 grand a year to this is nothing for them. But it is on the list.
Hi, Nicole, Andrea. When you were going through all the things that it does, it strikes me that there are some clear opportunities for some really strong transactional elements in the app. You know, what customers can do with you rather than what you are wanting to communicate to customers. Yep. Now, I think I'd be right in assuming that you don't have transactional elements in there because it's a static piece of software. But have you thought about that? And is it
one of the biggest things that we're looking at the moment is the ability for people to be able to register their jet ski through the app. So it's on the big list, basically, of all the things that we want to do. And we'll just go through and assess those. And as we can afford them, then we'll just tick the next one off the list. all about, yeah, I mean, main things, it's about the mighty dollar, and we'll only do stuff as we can afford it.
Nicole, you just mentioned about one of your goals is to keep it free and also no commercial word involvement. So what's the key reason for you to decide not to take on any advertisements for the application? Yep. We know the agency's funding is getting tightened and tightened, and then extra money always helping the future development. So what's the story behind it?
Yep. So that was one of the core goals. To put it bluntly, I decided while certain things point to the ground, it was going to be free. As I said before, this is about reducing harm and it's about safety. It's not about selling boats or selling fishing rods. Some of you might be familiar with the term app abandonment. If you get pop-ups happening all the time on your phone, you just get sick of it and you just delete it, and that's it. And we don't want people to do that. And we want to keep it free so that there's no barriers. You know, it's quite funny, you know, we'll go and spend heaps of money on lots of different things, and we'll go to iTunes and have a look at something, and it's like, $1.29? There must be a free one somewhere, you know. It's just sort of funny how the mind sort of works with that sort of thing. So we don't want any barriers, and we don't want people getting annoyed with it.